edit the names of the sentences with the children's name who are in that current batch, so that while they are reading, they really enjoy the session and they want to answer out all the questions, whatever you put forward. Yeah. So these were a few of the motivational things that came up on the Padlet link.
Also, we spoke about changing it very often because it cannot be the same throughout. So teachers did say that they make colorful boards every month and they add on new themes to it. So there was a teacher who spoke about circle activities, helping hands. The theme keeps changing every month so that the children, they look forward to those changes, because the board cannot be drab and dull, and you cannot have the same agreements there. We need to keep on changing with changing times. So that was something that was a good point, I felt. And one teacher shared that one child was not behaving aptly. So, and he was getting up from his place. So she made a smiley in his hand. And she said that if you get up from your place, the smiley is going to turn to a sad face. So that was pretty interesting, because the minute the child was getting up, he realized that's going to change. He believed, he trusted the teacher's every word, and therefore he restrained from getting up. So these were some interesting events that we discussed.
Yeah.
I think we are done with all our rooms, I guess, Lakshmi ma'am.
Shall we invite Miss Kavya, Miss Rakhi?
Absolutely, and Nagma ma'am.
Yeah, and I must thank all the teachers who shared their group's discussion points. Thank you so much.
Thank you to all the teachers for sharing and interacting, because as I said at the beginning of the session that your takeaways are going to be dependent on your interactions in the session. So I'm glad that you have interacted, and despite the fact that many of us are facing network issues, we are still hanging on to the end. And we welcome Ms. Kavya Zanani, who is a counselor and whose content on Instagram is something that I follow, because there are those 1-minute reels where she's sharing a lot of valuable content, and that's how I have been following, and I thought that this would be a great topic, and of course a platform to invite her to share her bit for the next few minutes. So over to you, Kavya. We're really happy to have you, and it would be great to hear from you when it comes to essential agreements. We are teachers and parents as well. So when it comes to essential agreements, we often face, a kind of roadblock, over a period of time, because the beginning of the year, everything is smooth. But as we move ahead with time, the middle of, probably, the fag end of the year, or middle, when we're just about to kind of pick up pace, that's the time, which becomes difficult for us to handle everything. It's the stress of completing the syllabus, plus the children who are not wanting to follow routine, not wanting to follow the norms that have been set at the beginning of the year. So yes, many challenges, and I'm sure that you will be able to share some tips with us. Over to you.
Okay. Thank you guys for having me so much. Sometimes I wonder what have I done to deserve to be on all of your panels, because teachers you have the hardest job in the world. Okay. You have a really, really, really difficult job at your hands. And I mean, literally just look at your hands for a second. Look at your hands. And the finest doctors that we have in the country, the finest lawyers we have in the country, possibly the next prime minister that's going to be in our country, that's going to go through your hands. Okay. And the impact that one teacher can have for the rest of the life of any one particular child. I don't need to impress more on that, because I guess all of us have had one teacher like that who kind of turned our life around, who made us believe that we were good for nothing to we were just the most amazing thing that was ever there on the planet, right? And we all have that one story of why you wanted to be a teacher, because my teacher did that to me, and that's what I want to do to the others. So great job. You don't have an easy job, and the way you guys have gone on through the pandemic and, scaling up and growing and learning, and from being technologically retarded to being techno savvy. I mean, hats off to all of you. Now, I was a student who was very below average. I was actually dyscalculic. I could never do math. I I had some very good teachers and I had some very terrible teachers. Basically, I was that kid with no hope. And I guess that continued even till later in my life, because my parents decided to get me married at the age of 20, because literally they thought that the only scope I ever had was to be a housewife, run a house. So my mother taught me very well to start cooking and cleaning at the age of 14 and 15. And at 20, my fate was sealed. It was post 20 to the age of 24, after I got married, after I had both my children, that I was depressed and I was suicidal and all of that. So my journey of counseling, therapy, it all started later, after I had gone through the whole spectrum of what mental health can really do to you. So if you literally see my qualifications, you're not going to find a bachelor's in psychology, a master's in psychology, or PhD in psychology. I am a hypnotherapist, a neuro-linguistic programming expert, and I'm a psycho-spiritual therapist. I know everything that applied psychology is, but I literally believe that my superpower has been my ability to love. And I think the amount of children or adults that I may have been able to deal with in the last 14 years of my practice, I'm possibly gifted with some skill that either my gurus or somebody is working through me. But more than that, it has been a single-minded intention that I don't want any child to suffer the way I suffered. Or if a child is suffering, I want to be able to see how can loving this child make a difference to that child. Now, one secret that all of you should know as teachers is children set you up to feel the way that they are feeling. Okay, children will set you up to feel the way that they are feeling. So when you see a child that is defiant and rebellious and is not focusing and is distracting the whole class, how do you feel? What are the words that could possibly pop up for you? Can you answer that? How would you feel? Hema Chandra, would you have an answer? Dr. Pratima?
Yeah,
How
I
would you
just feel I should have refunded the fees to the parent on the day one itself.
You feel you should have?
You should have refunded the fees to the parent, because it simply feels impossible to deal with the child on some days.
Impossible to deal with. Okay. Anybody else? How does that make you feel when the child is so rebellious, when a child is impossible to deal with?
There could be a feeling of frustration or a guilty feeling that perhaps you're not doing the right thing.
Guilt. Okay. Frustration, guilt, impossible to deal with. Now, just imagine if you are feeling frustrated, guilt, and impossible to deal with, the child is misbehaving because they are feeling frustrated, guilty, and impossible to deal with things that are going around them.
Absolutely.
Okay. So you got to use this as a mirror. And then you got to ask yourself, okay, if this child is feeling guilty, if this child is feeling frustrated, what's the gap? What's missing? What's missing? What can I do to make this child not feel guilty? To make this child feel like, hey, it's okay if you can't cope up, it's okay. Okay. And that's the only one single-minded agenda that I have, that if you're feeling guilty, I'm going to sit and talk to you about, what do you think you did that was so bad? Oh, I did this. And that'll happen with rapport building. It won't happen straight away. But when you can fill in that gap, the child is going to play in your hands for the rest of their academic life, even though they go in secondary or even though they go in masters. Okay, but they will keep coming back to you for the advice that they need. So they need the appreciation, the acknowledgement. Excellent. Now, I can do that as a counselor. Yes, very, very well. As teachers, you all possibly have 300 students you're dealing with every single day. So it may not be the easiest thing that, okay, ma'am, you're saying, yeah, do this. But it's not so easy for us because we're dealing with so many. Well, in that case, we need to make sure that there is some amount of personal touch, or there is some amount of, like a little secret between you and the notorious child. Okay, as if the child knows that, oh, this teacher knows so much more about me and this teacher really cares about me. So over here, having a little bit of a connect with the family will make a lot of difference. Now, you know that if it's a rebellious child, the rebellious child is being beaten up by their parents as well. आप अकेले नहीं हैं जिनको वो frustrate कर रहे हैं. The parents are being frustrated. So if you can become a team with the parents, say even in one PTA and say, do you know how gifted this boy is? Do you know the amount of leadership qualities this boy has? He is going to be the next Amit Shah of the country. It's just that this Amit Shah to handle in my classroom is a big task. But this guy is going to be super powerful. Okay, now that child, as rebellious as he is, as strong-willed, as stubborn, as distractible as he is, there is always a superpower that a child has. So again, what I would do here is I would pick up the most ordinary points of this child. So for my son he was below average, extremely ordinary. And I could never, even as hard as I tried, I could never find a gift. Like, what do I appreciate in this child? Okay, the only thing he would do was every 20 minutes, like an alarm clock, he would sit and he would cry. So everybody would say, kitna sensitive hai, kitna rotlu hai. And I had to give that a word because he was hearing that too much. I had to give that a word and I told him, I said, you know what your superpower is? Your superpower is that you're sensitive. And this is when he couldn't even pronounce sensitive. So you see, what does sensi, what does that mean? And I actually began to speak to him about the concept of sensitivity. That, you know, sensitive people, they will always make sure that other people around them are comfortable. They will make sure that other people around them are loved, that they're not hurting anyone. They will want to take care of stray cats and stray dogs and feed people who are hungry. They will want to share. They are observant of other people. My son is now a 15-year-old, and I get this from everyone, that we have never seen a more sensitive child than your son. Because he now grew up believing that his sensitivity is his superpower. But in the same way, every rebellious child, every difficult child, maybe you want to say that your strong-willedness is your superpower. Once you make a decision, nobody can make you change it. Or even if you're taken to the principal's office, you're not scared. Do you know that that is going to be your superpower? But right now, please, I want you to, you know, just help me out because I can't handle this class without your support in it. Or you need to give this child a leadership position. The most notorious child needs responsibility, where he can feel powerful. They're acting out because one part of them feels powerless. Okay, so you give them that illusion of power or the sense of power and you make them your favorite. They will play in your hands. They should know that my teacher is on my side, even if that means that when you have given your child or the child a text to study, or you've given them, say, okay, these questions are important, and you see that child passing in the corridor and you just call him and you say, Aryan, come here. I want you to make sure that you learn that answer, okay? That answer is important. This is between you and me, but that answer is important. Okay, now just that much is always going to feel like my teacher thought of me. She wanted me to excel. That's why she told me that was a secret, but that's why she told me that that answer was important. And if you go looking for these small ways to connect with them, you will find them. You will find them, but we will have to look beyond their disability and find that superpower or convert their disability into their superpower. Okay, so that's one major thing. So maybe the first 3 days of your schooling life, you need to forget about the curriculum and you need to only focus on rapport building. Otherwise, every single day is going to be a struggle. Now, I know the amount of portion completions that you have and deadlines that you have, and it's not that simple. But 2 days of spending in purely rapport building is magic for the entire year. Okay, and I think also connecting with that family and creating a loop of how much you trust this child. And I literally tell every parent, I said, your child, I'm going to have to come and take an autograph from your child in the next 8 years or 10 years. You just watch, you watch. And literally, I don't know whether they create that because they think I believe in them, so there must be something in them that they can't see, or they literally believe it because they want to prove it. But every child that I have said that to has turned around and made me so proud. And I'm sure that you've had cases like that in your academic careers too. Right? And another thing for connection is we need to stay relevant. We need to stay relevant to their age group. As much as, in that connection, we need to hear the songs that they're hearing. We need to know about what series they're watching. We need to know their slangs. We need to know their shortcuts that they use in communication. Sometimes, as teachers and as parents, we become extremely hung up on the right thing. But our right thing and their right thing is not the same thing. That's where the distance is. So if you see the kids now, they hardly refer to you by names or anything. Their top word right now is bro. Everything is bro. Right? So when you can connect with them using their lingo, you've made it. And then you've just made the child's life. The rebellious child is going to play in your palm. I think we're running out of time because if you give me to speak, I can keep speaking for hours. So I better stop.
Thank you so much, Kavya, for accepting our request at such a short notice and showing up and sharing your valuable tips with all of us. Anybody has any questions before we sign off for today with our community meet? In case you would like to ask anything to any of our mentors, or if you have a doubt which you would like to ask Kavya. Anyone, any questions? So there is a YouTube video.
I'm going to try all her tips from tomorrow itself and get back to her.
Absolutely. Even if we try one of those which maybe we haven't been trying till now, I've been thinking but not try, we should definitely do that. I liked your idea of superpower. That was awesome.
Yeah.
I'm going to put my voice there. Yeah. And so there is this video called The Rebellion Classroom, The Rebel Classroom. And it's about how the teacher turns around the classroom with the same superpower, by actually embracing them and letting them reveal, their qualities by announcing, she just announces that we're going to be having a talent showcase. And I want each one of you to showcase your talent. So that was her way of connecting with the classroom, connecting with the children in order to understand that why are they behaving in this manner, letting us understand what they're capable of. So she announced, it was the first day, she was very disappointed because she was not able to handle the classroom, and she was very depressed, and she kept thinking whole night, what should I do, what should I do? And the next day she said, we're not going to do anything, we're just going to have a talent showcase where I want each one of you to come up and show me your talent. And all of them were super excited. They started coming up, and there was this one girl who who was probably very shy. She didn't come up, and the entire class started teasing her. And the next day, there were some children left. So the next day again, the ones who were left, they came up, showed their talent. And then that day, the girl who was very shy wrote a poem and gave the slip to the teacher. And that poem was beautiful, and the teacher actually read the poem. And that's what made the entire class realize her true superpower. And they actually stopped teasing her, and they turned around and started praising her. So it all depends on the teacher. We are the magicians, whether we believe it or not, but we are the magicians of our classroom. So I hope that with this note, you'll continue and carry forward your magic in your classroom. And of course, we are here to meet up every single month on the last Saturday of every month. We meet up on a particular topic where we discuss, we interact, and our lead mentors, they show up, they prepare, and they share their insights as well with all of you, apart from the sharing that goes on in the community, because I believe that if the community needs to evolve, we all need to learn from one another. So that is what Teachers Help Teachers is all about. And to end this with, I think Kavya would like to share her link so that we can leave a feedback for her. The Google link, if you could share it with us in the chat, that would be really nice. So I would request all of you, if you really like what she spoke, which you found even one tip valuable, which you may be following or which you are going to soon follow, do leave a feedback on the link that she's going to be sharing. It really helps us because, we all are here to help each other grow. And that's the motto. So please go ahead, share your feedback on the link. And for those of you who are new to our community, please be connected with us through our Facebook group, We have a huge Facebook group with around 11,400 educators across India. We have 5 WhatsApp groups, and we have recently started the North chapter of our WhatsApp group, where all the teachers from the North are invited to join our WhatsApp group. It's a completely no-nonsense group, so there's no disturbance because we understand and value the time. So I'm going to be sharing, Kavya has shared her link. Please do click on the link. That's our way. That's going to be our way of thanking her to show up and share her time with us and share her valuable tips with us. So I request all of you to click on the link and leave a one-line feedback for her, because that's going to help all of us. And please do join, for the new joinees, please do join our Facebook group. I'm just sharing the group's name out here so that you don't get confused, as there are a lot of groups with the same name that have come up in the past couple of years. So that should be a compliment for us. So here is the link of our group, facebook.com/teachers@speed. That's the group that you can join in case you aren't a part of our group. And of course, the link which Kavya has shared, which will take you to the feedback link where you can just leave one line. Okay, so thank you so much for showing up, everyone. I hope that you're going to continue with your magic. Till then, stay curious, keep learning, and we shall see you soon next month with a different topic to collaborate and learn from one another. Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye. Bye, Kavya. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Have a nice weekend.
Thank you.
Take care.